Good evening, Shortcuts. Stephen here. This is the a special list for this week's selections. I have a jazz and blues and soul list with a couple of extra specials in a bit, but this list is dedicated to Vinyl Me Please, the music club that I've been part of for, I think it's over 5 years now. And I know that some of you have joined as well. And so this is a celebration of some of their best releases from the last few years, because they had a warehouse sale about, well, I don't know, 6 or 8 weeks ago. And I managed to grab a bunch of these, not all of them, but a bunch of them at discounted prices, which I'm gonna flow on to you folks. So this price list will go out 9 p.m. sharp on Wednesday, the 27th. And I guarantee you there are some phenomenal quality records for really not very many dollars. And so just giving you that heads up. Now, I was thinking about where to start, and it actually was pretty obvious. This is spectacular. This is a box set by an offshoot of Stax Records called The Gospel Truth, which existed for only a very short period in the early 70s, 72 to 73. Now, this is sealed, and this is the sticker that it comes with. If I can find it. Oh no, what did I do with the sticker? Oh, it's here. I got saved by the Gospel Truth. Gospel Truth was an idea spun up by Al Bell as Stax was coming out of a pretty difficult period. And he went back to the roots of the church and spirituals and other things. And I have some spiritual jazz to follow this to kind of keep the thread. And create this label, Gospel Truth. Now, what I'm going to show you now is some of what's in here from my copy, which is open, as you can see. Obviously, the one that's going to be for sale is sealed. Now, to buy this off their site with tax and postage and everything else is about 380 Aussie. I'll be selling this maybe slightly above half of that price. And so, give you an idea. But I want to show you what's in here. It is one of my favorite discoveries of the last few years. So firstly, there's a book that comes with the collection. It's really interestingly written because it describes how each of the artists contributes to the idea of kind of gospel soul. And so you get a little bit of a description of why the Gospel Truth became a thing. And then you get, for each of the records, a description of why they're interesting. Now, I'm going to start with this record, the Rance Allen Group. This is the record that comes in the box. You can see that. Look at that amazing logo. That is amazing. Stereo. So released 1972. Now, all of these have been repressed, and I think it's RTI. Let me just double check. AAA lacquers cut from the original master tapes by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound. My apologies. And it is, there's 1,000 of these, and this is number 443. So the Rance Allen Group is and was the kind of superstar first kind of cab off the rank. This is as good a soul record as I have ever heard. And set aside the kind of gospel and spiritual nature of the songs, the singing, the musicianship, holy moly, this is I would go so far as to say it is worth the price of entry alone. And the sound quality of the record, wow. I mean, I know that Stax have been pretty good about maintaining their tapes, but how Vinyl Me Please got access to these and how they didn't just make this an even bigger thing than they did, I just don't understand. So there's 6 records in here. I'm just going to show you all of them. This one, Maceo Woods and the Christian Tabernacle Concert Choir. The record's called Jesus People. This is the most straightforward kind of Christian soul of them all. You can see that it's choral, big sounds, sweeping choruses. If our stack ranking, I think this would be kind of the 5th or 6th for me. Now, this was a really pleasant surprise. I had never heard of Louise McCord. What a voice, a belter. And this is a tribute to Mahalia Jackson, who was and is somewhat of a spiritual kind of touch point. And so from the very first song of this, you get a real sense of the power of Louise McCord. But these songs are really beautiful. There is some stunning piano playing on here. I love this. This is a really pleasant surprise. All right, now we get some really out there. So this is Whatever Happened to Love by Clarence Smith. Now this is maybe a little bit closer to jazz, and so you get some really interesting musicianship, really cool background vocals. Finally, 2 of my favorites. I'm going to save maybe the best discovery of all for the end. But the Gospel Artistics are a vocal group, almost more like a gospel choir than a soul choir. So you can hear the layered tenor voices. It's very deeply held. Obviously, this is a really special record to those folks, and you can hear that in everything. And then this. Now, the Gospel Truth, you certainly think this is Christian. This record, the self-titled Blue Aquarius, is spiritual but not Christian. This is much more egalitarian than that. That's the gatefold. It's the only gatefold record. It sounds incredible. I love that back sleeve as well. Now this one is you're talking now more kind of message music. So read the front cover. You can't end war with war. You can't put out a fire with fire. To end a crisis, you need an anti-crisis. The only anti-crisis is peace. So, man, this is, obviously not a genre that I'm particularly familiar with. But I have loved exploring this box. I'm so sorry I've only got one. I'm selling them at this price because I managed to secure one at a very cheap price, and so I'm able to pass on the saving. But it's still pretty amazing. Highly recommended. Now I've got a few more Vinyl Me Please records that I'll shoot through, not to the same depth that I just went through the Gospel Truth. I'm just going to show you this one more time. Look at that. The Gospel Truth records. You will love it. It's so good. All right, so now I've got some other single records that spawn jazz, spiritual jazz, funk, hip hop, country, and indie. And I'm going to start here. This is Archie Shepp, and the record is called The Cry of My People. Now, you can see the obi here, and it says spiritual jazz. This is because Vinyl Me Please released a series of 4 records in this kind of almost like a mini series, and they spoke of them as records that hadn't made the cut for an Impulse box set, which is coming later in the year. And in that box set, you've got the likes of Alice Coltrane and John Coltrane and a few others. So some of these, the records that they had by the likes of Michael White, Pharoah Sanders, just didn't make the cut. But this one by Archie Shepp, The Cry of My People, was the one that when I listened to it, appealed to me. Now, Archie Shepp is like an avant-garde saxophonist, and some of his music can be very, very challenging indeed. But these spiritual jazz records were with a broader canvas. So we're talking masses of musicians. So you've got Cornell Dupree, Bernard Purdie. On several of these songs, you have not one, but two choirs. You've got female vocalists. You've got Archie himself. You've got this really thoughtful and touching view of the world all the way through these songs. Side 1, Rest Enough, Song to Mother. Song 2, A Prayer. Song 3, All God's Children in the Universe. And in the second side, there's an African drum suite, which is spectacular. So this one is number 244 of the series. All of them are sold out. You cannot get them for hell nor high leather. And I'm not surprised. I'm actually disappointed myself I didn't grab more of the others. But I did grab 2 of these, and this is my spare. And I love it. It's so great. Okay, now we have what vies with Tusk for my favourite Fleetwood Mac album. But there is no competition for what I think is the best sounding Fleetwood Mac record I have ever heard. And that includes my 45 RPM Kevin Gray press of Rumours. And it's this. This is the Ryan Smith, mastered from the original master tapes by Ryan Smith at Sterling Sound, pressed on forest green Galaxy vinyl, foil stamped with a tip-on jacket. This is the best sounding Fleetwood Mac album I have ever heard. And what's more, it's a great record. Start to finish. I know there's the golden period of Fleetwood Mac and the blues in the 60s, and then the pop rock phenomena of the 70s. Wow, on this record, it is not Tango of the Night could well be their masterpiece. It'll be interesting to see over time how things mutate around this, because of course there's a little bit of the 80s production, but they didn't commit the cardinal sin of 80s production, which is the tinny drums. It doesn't sound like that, and the guitars are wonderful. Big Love, Little Lies, Seven Wonders, Everywhere. This thing sounds spectacular. Now, it's impossible to get that on any special offer, so I can't pass on any savings on that one. So it's going to be, I don't know, whatever it cost me, $65, $70. But I just wanted to put it on there because it is that good. Now I've started this little thing in the club of, and forgive me for this, but I call it Shortcuts Royalty. Records that more than 10 of us have bought, and that I've personally had multiple feedback sessions from some of you, hopefully nearly always raving about them. And so what I've been doing in the emails now, you'll notice I've been calling out some of what I call Shortcuts Royalty. I have 2 here now that are clear Shortcuts Royalty. One, the Meters Rejuvenation. This record is pressed on the most vibrant yellow vinyl I have ever seen, and it will just make you smile. And on top of that, it sounds incredible, and it's a wonderful album. There's the art print that comes with it. This record is spectacular. One of the best funk albums I've ever heard, and this is one of the best blues albums I've ever heard. Muddy Waters, Fathers and Sons. This was the first ever Vinyl Me Please record that I bought. And I bought it as a off someone from Melbourne. I can't remember, a long time ago now. And what's wonderful is they repressed it. This is the repress. So the story of this record is that there were some kind of white blues musicians in Chicago who worshipped Muddy Waters, and Muddy came up and played a concert with Michael Bloomfield and Paul Butterfield, and they put a band together with Donald Duck Dunn and Buddy Miles, Otis Spann on piano. So what you can see is the Black Angel and the white kind of acolytes reaching up. So you've got this kind of black and white, I don't know, image. This I don't know how you might describe it. Is it a shtick? Is it? I don't know how to. I mean, I guess there was genuine love there. So they played the live concert, and then they went in, from what I can read, right, of my accounts, the next day and recorded a studio album. So this is a double record. You've got the live album with 2 harmonica players, piano and Muddy Waters guitar and him singing. And then you've got the studio album, which is fabulous. Cannot go wrong with those 2 records. Just great. Now, Vinyl Me Please has been educating me over the last few years on hip-hop and country. Not genres that I'm overly familiar. But what I've done here is I've picked out a few that have just tickled my ears and that I've really enjoyed. Now, these 2 I've enjoyed for very different reasons. So I had no idea who Juvenile was. And this record was 400 Degrees it was pretty popular when it came out and has remained so. And I think it's very playful. It's quite indulgent in places, but it's not as caustic as some of the hip-hop records can be. And I find that I put this one on my 12-year-old, he'll be 12 in a few weeks, is super excited by it. He really enjoys it. Now, this one is a little bit different. Blue, her favorite color. Now, Blue was a rapper who made this predominantly as a mixtape, and from what I can tell, it was released maybe 2009, 2010. The lacquer's cut by Cicely Balston. Both of these, Cicely Balston. Now, the reason I mention that is because in the Vinyl Me Please forums, Cicely Balston is held up as like the arbiter of quality hip-hop pressings. And what I really like about this one are the samples. Billie Holiday, Curtis Mayfield, Jimi Hendrix, and not just vocal samples and in some cases guitar loops. There are quite significant sections that are cuts of dialogue from really cool movies from the 1990s predominantly that you'll go, oh yeah, and I'm not going to give it away. And I really, really like this record. And it's more soulful and jazzy as opposed to Juvenile, which is more brassy and percussive. So if you don't know those records, explore. I think you'd be pleasantly surprised. Now, on the country side, these are probably my 2 favorite country releases other than Shotgun Willie that they have done. Honky Tonk Heroes by Waylon Jennings, I think, is arguably his best record. 10 songs, every single one of them is killer. This one's cut from the original tapes as well, by Ryan Smith. The listening notes in here are really interesting. A lot of things about Waylon Jennings that I didn't know. Really, really, really interesting and lovely record. I'm much more familiar with Chris Christopherson, but I didn't know this record. The Silver-Tongued Devil and I, 1971. Again, when you go back to these original tapes, because they were recorded with the band in the room, you get this beautiful sense of airiness and place. And you can hear how close he's singing to the microphone. I really like it, surprisingly so. Now, 2 more to go. These are both more kind of indie releases that have been they've kind of been in the Vinyl Me Please warehouse sales for a while. And I always grab them when I see them because I think they're very good. This one I had on recently, Bright Eyes. This is probably my wife's favourite Vinyl Me Please record, and that's the art print that comes with it. And this is one that wasn't beloved by the Vinyl Me Please community at the time, but I really like it. It is The Centre Won't Hold by Sleater Kinney, and that is the art print that comes with Sleater Kinney. All of these, bar the Fleetwood Mac and the Archie Shep, will be significantly discounted from usual Vinyl Me Please prices. And every one of them sounds great. I love them. I have them all on my shelf. I'm really, really pleased that they did this sale, and that's allowed me to kind of pass this on. A really nice opportunity to get some real audiophile quality records into your collection, maybe in genres that you wouldn't maybe typically explore for not very much compared to the quality of the product that you're going to get. Nearly all of them have listening notes, art prints, always something special. And so, yeah, highly recommended. That's my Vinyl Me Please final piece. And there you go. You know, I got saved by the gospel truth. Cannot rave about this enough. All right. Thank you so much if you watched this far. Price list on Wednesday, Sydney time, 9 p.m. Email me at shortcutsrecordsaus@gmail.com if you'd like to be on the list. And watch out for list number 2. I got some really interesting genre records for you to explore. Thanks. Bye.